We'll call our January 20th, 2026 meeting to order. The floor is now open for public comments. Anyone not on the agenda be allowed to speak up to 3 minutes. Anyone? Okay.
Members of Sherburn City Council, my name is Bonnie Opinskas. For the last 2 years, I have been the culinary director with Lisa Lang as my predecessor. I'm here this evening before your council to express the concerns of residents, their families, and even my very own family. Mid-December, Cornerstone Management came into Temperance Lake Ridge and removed the heart of Temperance. Instantly, it became a hostile environment for the residents, for staff, and our families. Families took to social media, even asking us where the director has gone or where all the management team is. My reply was simply that we had been removed from our positions. Temperance has always been a home to its residents, their families, and the employees, and our families. From growing our very own herb garden to all the holiday family get-togethers, to the school fundraisers, holding the residents' families' hands as they mourn their loss, to new babies being born into the TLR family. Lisa Lang created love, compassion, and a safe environment for all of us. Since the day that I walked into Temperance, I have been able to grow, even learning to provide meals for our residents from their eras. Earning certificates and license I never knew I would actually enjoy having. Lisa has held our hands through every moment and endless questions, even with a tissue box under her desk just for me. The residents of Temperance are all my grandparents. Their families are my families. Lisa has not just led all of us to be a team, but we are a family. We work as an amazing team because she taught us how to love each other. This is a home, not a business, and that is something that corporations could never understand or provide. I urge you, councilmen, to make a heartfelt decision on where the community goes from here, because Lisa Lang has made this a home for many of us at Temperance.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, approval of the agenda. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, but move number F or letter F up to number 2.
I move that we just keep the agenda as it is printed.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, died for lack of a second. We're gonna make a motion to approve the agenda then.
I so move to approve the agenda as.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve our agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion has carried. Consent agenda. You have before you the regular minutes from the January 5th meeting, checks, general receipts, payroll reports, financial statements of November 2025, municipal liquor store end of year inventory and sales reports, and ambulance run reports. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We moved in second to approve our consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Regular agenda. First one on our agenda is sewer problems. Tim Eisminger.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me talk about this again. This was brought up July 7th meeting. I know it all started by the sewer that was done in 2010, starting this year when I had sewer problems and it was plugging at the main. At that time, the contractors I had in there was Dave Plumbing and JT came in and started digging it up. when they dug it up at that time, where the new sewer was put in, it was put in too high. It's higher than what the sewer is coming out into the motel. Which I just want to go over a couple things here, which a lot of you guys have papers on. Golden Mink was here and they talked about the saddle wire. First mistake was that they forgot to hook us up. They did not hook P&J up to the sewer. So they missed that. Then they come back and put a Y in, which is not up to code. Y sticks through into the main sewer. And when they drilled the hole to put it in, they left the burrs when you drill through PVC in the main sewer. And that's where it's plugging. It plugged 4 times and backed up into the basement. They've called the city here a couple times and they come down to try to look at the main. As they said, it's plugged at the main. They could not find the clean out on that side of it, west of it. They come to the east because they didn't know there was one west of it, which there is one. It was plugging up there with catching on that, and it is high. When we dug it up, we did call the city guys to come down. New piece that they put in went downhill 2 inches. And the pictures you guys got, all the sewer that started, and it starts just down there, was dumping into my sewer and coming sometimes to the motel. Now in the motel, it's in the basement, up off the ground as high as you can get without, with still flowing and not freezing. So it was bringing the water back. When we dug that up and took it loose, the sewer was coming down into my area and we had to pump it out like 3 times. So there were many mistakes. A couple of other things said, I was looking for warranty, no warranty, poor workmanship, and somebody knew when they put it in. I'm not an engineer and I've met quite a bit of time with Travis and Bolden Make. He says everything was done right, but he says straight out, common sense, water and sewer did not go uphill. When you put in a drain with the sewer that we replaced, it goes downhill too. The other thing that he did mention is before you guys had it redone, and that's the reason I'm coming to the city, you guys hired these guys. It used to go down through the low. They changed it, went straight up the hill. That's changing it. P&J Motel, where the main bathroom is there in the shower, that is a foot lower than the middle of the road. I couldn't bring it up. So after he surveyed and did it, he says, yeah, you got to put in you have to put in a lift station because of the changes that they did. Engineers make mistakes. I've worked with engineers in quite a few states here and actually supervised quite a few. If you admit a problem, we could have fixed it. When they went back and put that in, why did they not call and say, hey, we got a problem here. It's going to drain the wrong way. But they put it in. Now it goes into a 10-inch tile, I believe, and it's a 6-inch I had coming out. So the bottom part wasn't going at all, but the stuff was floating over the top. That's how it made it that many years. But now I had to put in a drain field. I mean, I have $30,000 worth of bills, which you guys see so far to get it fixed up. Bolton Mink and the production company, or the company that did it, are responsible for this. Now, I would hope we would have people bonded that we hired to pay for this or pay for a percentage of it. Not only do I not have a lift station put in, I'm gonna have the maintenance of the lift station, the electricity of the lift station, replacing it later down the road. And now if I lose electricity, I don't have sewer. And it's all because of what they did there. And he did say the lateral line is my responsibility. I can't do anything with lateral line when you put the sewer in the street higher. Now he measured it out and it was close to where they engineered it. He never would tell me and show me exactly where the line was before that, but it's close to where it's engineered at. I'm not an engineer, but an inch or two off is not good. He said they do not look at the hookups. That's not their problem. Well, when you're putting in a sewer, guys, I do know because I do a lot of public stuff out in land. If I do tiling out in land and put water on somebody else, I'm responsible. If I put sewer in or tile in lower and I drain them, I'm responsible too if they don't want to. So you guys are responsible. The contractor's responsible. So we've talked about it quite a bit. I've met with him a few times. He's not taking it. I want some help here. I'd like to do it gentleman wise between us. I don't want to go any farther, but I'm not just going to let this go because it was not done right. And it was not done to code according to the contractors. I've given names to him, names to the city and who to talk to. I mean, Dave Plumbing was there. Bill spent time there. I cleaned sewers out of the basement 4 times. I don't like doing that, especially when it was done wrong. And so I'm just asking for you guys can look at it.
Flow north or east or west from there? Does it go on First Street? Does it flow out to First Street?
It actually comes straight to the north, close to the north in the gravel road.
Oh, in the gravel road.
Yep, between there and the bus garage. And it was literally, you guys got the levels. I mean, you got all the pictures. I mean, if you want to ask anything, the level's on there. It was put right in. You could see it. And it's not that anything, they said the road sunk. If the road had sunk, I would have drained better to it. The road didn't sink.
Right.
The Y that was glued in there, solid, was tipped down at an angle. You don't put a Y in down at an angle. So somebody knew it. I don't know if it was the construction company or Bolton Mink, they should have said something.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is when he talked about we have all the records and we did everything right. Them records were drawn 2 years later. I'm not as young as I used to be, but how many of you can remember for 2 years what was done? And guess what? The guy that engineered it wasn't there anymore.
Right.
So another guy just looked at it and tried to come up with records. I just want somebody to admit, and I need some help there. Otherwise, I got to do something better. But if I get some answer in 30 days, at least a direction, but I don't think just because you guys hired it is the only reason you're in.
Right.
It was their fault. And I hope they were bonded and somebody just admit it. Let's take care of it and go on from there is what I'm asking.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for him?
Original contractor
Savota.
Sabota with us?
out of Jackson.
Jackson.
And Bolton and Mink is hired to stand there and watch and make sure things are done right.
But when I asked him on that, we don't watch all of it really. I said, well, I know we pay you pretty good money, and the city does. And,
Mhm.
and I, in my end, and with my work, if I have an engineer that lies to me or something like this, we need to look somewhere else and look better. Because if they're doing that on this, what else are they not doing? They should know better. I mean, if at the time you just said we had a problem, we could have probably fixed it for $5,000.
Right.
Now we have something major. I mean, I do have dirt we put in and gravel. It's going to sink again through it. I mean, it's a real mess and added a lot to me for what we needed. And,
Yeah.
and that's why originally we did have city guys down. They looked at it, and actually, I wasn't there right then when they looked at it, but they just said this looks like a city problem. That's why they billed you guys the 5,700 at that time, just for that. But it's more than that, especially when he says, "Yes, with where we got it, you got to put that in."
Yeah.
Were they trying to save money by not doing the same line they did before? It's not my problem. My problem is I need sewer to run, and I'm gonna have a lot more expenses for it.
If we can come up with something.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is Temperance Lake letters of consideration. You had those in your packets. Do we have any questions on any of those? If not, we'll go to Temperance Lake Ridge. Nancy Hanson, questions about Embark and Temperance Lake Ridge. Nancy?
All our questions were put into your stuff. So I really wasn't gonna ask questions. I was just gonna make a statement on observation over the past almost 8 years. I have been out in Temperance Ridge. My dad was there 18 months with my mom, almost 8 years. My mother-in-law is still there. She's been there 6 years. So when I say I've been in and out of Temperance Ridge hundreds of times, I'm not joking. I have been there that much. I just feel I've seen a lot of good things and I've heard a lot of good things, but there is a lot of bad things too. And I feel, and I know that not only that, it's time to start over with fresh management and probably middle management too. We feel that Lisa's priorities are no longer in line with what's best for the residents or the staff. Sponsoring, she worries more about what looks good, sponsoring community events, these elaborate parties that they have, sometimes twice a week even. The residents there have even said it's too much. They don't need it. They would rather see other things brought in, other entertainment. And a lot of times they get, when Sam used to try to get things in, she got shut down. She sponsors
Sam, who's Sam?
Hada. She was the activities director.
Yep.
You should have a letter from her. Anything that makes Temperance look good, like the perfect place on social media. Meanwhile, behind the closed doors, the training for the staff has declined tremendously over the years. Lisa used to say that she gave them extra hours of training almost every month. And that when we came in and we were impressed with that. I don't even think the regular full-time employees get much training anymore because several of them make simple errors. They don't recognize pain on a hospice person. Like our hospice nurse had to bring in all the staff and show them what my mom looked like in pain because they did not recognize it. And that's something they should have known. Turnover has increased tremendously over the years, especially on the memory care side. And when you run into these employees after they're gone and you ask them why, they say it's not the job or the people, the residents, it's dealing with management. They tell me that Lisa shows them disrespect. And the families, a lot of the families I've talked to over the years, they feel like they get snowballed. They don't feel like she takes them serious, listens to them, or shows the respect either. And I'm sure it was mentioned in a couple of them. She threatens her staff when they disagree with her. She makes them come in when they're sick if they can't find anybody else to fill in for them. They have to come in sick. When families complained about it, the next day the lady got sent home because she was there too. And it's like there should be a backup staff. There should be somebody on call at all times to help them out. You can't be a good manager when your staff is afraid of retaliation if they speak up. That's why a lot of people didn't show up that wanted to, because they're pretty sure that she's going to get the contract and they're afraid they'll lose their jobs or she'll make it difficult down the road for them at other jobs. And I heard that a lot. How do you allow one staff member to come and go and quit and be hired back several times? I was told that Bonnie has walked out, quit like 5 times, and yet she keeps coming back. But we had an excellent girl that was working there, and she got let go because her background check didn't come back quick enough, and government was shut down at that time, so it's kind of hard to do. And we would have liked to had her stay on. She allowed, yet again, Sam Potoff to drive the residents bus around town by herself without having anybody extra on board to help. Most of these people are 2-person handling to get them on and off. Sam is not licensed to drive a community bus. She did not realize she needed a special license, but management should have known that and notified her and probably had her trained. I don't think Lisa turns in all the paperwork she's supposed to Cornerstone. Not saying that they're perfect. I've heard lots of things about them too. But I was told that the dog that she bought with Temperance Ridge money, she was supposed to get approved through Cornerstone. And the dog was supposed to be trained. Lisa still has the dog because the dog is not allowed on the premises because it bit somebody. The decorations that is spent, the money that's spent on decorations. My family, the residents, they're paying for all this. They don't care if there's huge decorations everywhere for everything. The garage is so full of decorations and hundreds of totes that they can barely get the bus inside anymore. And it was on the website when they put that addition on that it was for parking the bus and it was for the ambulance to be pulled in there so they could load people in and out. You cannot walk down that hall with a gurney because there is not room. You could not get the ambulance in that garage anywhere because there is not room. But we have 5 Grinch costumes, all the same size, that are paid for by people. We have not 8,000 Easter eggs. We have 12,000 Easter eggs because one of the girls was told she had to count them one week, and Lisa ordered another 4,000 because she didn't think it was adequate enough. activities. It would be nice if the kids that do the activities would actually spend more time doing the activities than worrying about setting people up and doing the pictures. They are mandatory to do at least 20 pictures every time they work if they are an activities person. And I have seen them go through those perfect pictures on Facebook, a lot of time are staged. They will take a boa and throw it around somebody's neck, put a hat on, say cheese, smile, take a picture, and 20 seconds later, they're on to the next one. And that's your perfect pictures for activities. I hope you guys take this serious. I know I'm just one person standing up, but I know there's a lot of people that have the same agreement with me. We just feel that it's time to start over, move on. But we are also curious if Lisa is going to be the executive director and the owner operator of Embark, who are these employees going to go complain to? Because they were never told they were allowed to bypass middle management and go to Cornerstone if they had an issue and didn't agree with it. So if she's both middle management and upper management, doesn't that make her the judge and the jury? And the comment has been said, if that's the case, they'd have to form a union so they had somebody to represent them. Does the city really want another union on their hands? That's my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for? Not, we'll move on. Angela Lang.
She was not able to make.
Okay, next one is Philip England. Phil's not here. Next one is Kevin Lang. Can sit there or at the end of the table or.
All right, okay, several months ago, Lisa noticed some concerning discrepancies involving payroll billing with Cornerstone. She then reached out to Cornerstone to get clarification as to what was going on. After some long, frustrating phone calls with Cornerstone, she felt like she was just getting the runaround. She then took the concerns to the city. From that point on, the city, along with the city attorney, did their own investigation. The city did not like what they found. On November 3rd, the city unanimously voted to terminate the contract with Cornerstone as soon as possible. Lisa was asked if she would consider being the management company for Temperance. Lisa didn't lobby for it. She did not aggressively pursue it. But after 19 years of being the ED of Temperance, she was asked. Letters regarding ending the contracts with Cornerstone were then sent out. Lisa was advised to do everything you can with the transition ASAP because Cornerstone was not responding to the letters. From there, Cornerstone chose to terminate Lisa as the executive director, claiming conflict of interest. Since then, as an employee there myself, I have literally witnessed an absolute witch hunt. We have gotten anonymous letters left on our windshield of our vehicle, assuming it's from employees at Temperance. They don't want to reveal themselves, informing us of how Cornerstone has been pulling staff aside, trying to get them to say bad things about Lisa. We have been told from a now and former employee of Temperance Lake Ridge that he or she, they were fired because they were supportive of Lisa coming back. We have many TLR staff that would have liked to speak on Lisa's behalf, but are flat out afraid of retaliation. For 19 years, I have seen Lisa put her heart and soul into Temperance. There are many late night calls. Lisa would always answer them, and she calmly listened to what the staff person's concerns were. She always believed in making things better for the residents. She strongly emphasized this. She emphasized the activities for the residents. There have been many times which I have witnessed family, resident members of the family come up to Lisa and say, thank you for doing these activities. It's one of the main reasons why we chose this place. When Lisa first became the ED of Temperance, the building was financially struggling. Since then, the building has done 2 major expansions. Other facilities took notice. She received letters from other facilities, asking her if she would consider leaving Temperance and becoming the executive director for them. It was tempting, but she chose not to respond. Now, Lisa's not here tonight to fight for the management position. Let me make this clear. All right? Because of all things going on, if the city feels like it's in the best interest to find a different management company, she is fine with it. She simply wants what is best for Temperance. Cornerstone manages around 20 to 25 buildings. Now, I'd like to bring your attention that this past year, while working under Cornerstone, she was given this honor. And we'll start. Now, this is coming right off of Cornerstone's Facebook. For Q4 of last year, 2024, top performers, celebrating outstanding executive directors. As we wrap up an incredible Q4, we're proud to recognize the exceptional leaders who have gone and above and beyond to drive success across their communities. Please join us in congratulating Lindsay Johnson, Lisa Lang, and Tracy Sherburn for outstanding in their achievements on hitting KPIs. Each of these leaders exemplifies the Cornerstone management values, honesty, integrity, and responsiveness of the hard work. Their efforts not only drive results, but also embody our mission of creating healthy communities. Again, please join us in celebrating Lindsay, Lisa, Tracy in their comments and hard work. Dedication inspires us all. Okay, that is right here, Q4. You also received it in April for first quarter. Again, second quarter in July, this time 5 of them. Same honor. And again in November. Another one. This is off their Facebook page. And I want to point out something here that there are some repeats like Lisa that did get this award. But if I'm looking at it correctly, and you study it, only her and one other executive director got it all 4 times. Just something to think about. Then I'm at with this. Okay, I'm right here. Okay, then back in July, Cornerstone sends out this message, and I was in part of the state survey. We are proud to share that Temperance Lake Ridge Senior Living recently received an exceptional state survey. This is a reflection of their commitment to providing safe, high-quality care to every resident every day. State surveys are rigorous evaluations conducted by the Department of Health to ensure that senior living communities meet and exceed important standards of care, cleanliness, safety, and overall resident well-being. We're thrilled to share that Temperance Lakes Ridge passed with flying colors. A huge thank you to the incredible staff whose hard work, compassion, and attention to detail make Temperance Lake Ridge a healthy community. So many residents, your dedication makes a real difference. I'm saying all this because I'm getting vibes that Cornerstone's going to have a whole different mindset of what was just said here. But this is on their Facebook. This was them. Yeah, after all this, Cornerstone is going to try to tear Lisa down. Why? I believe it was because she's a whistleblower. They can say it was conflict for interest and they can hold on to it. But the rest of the story kind of says a little different. Not renewing the contract would mean Cornerstone would not be getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from Temperance Lake Ridge this year. We're literally doing minimal effort. You didn't see Cornerstone at the building. Okay. Never once, I'm the 3 years, never once did anybody from Cornerstone as a maintenance man, director, ask to see the building, not from me. Yet, like I said, rarely do they show up. I can't even think of more than one time in the last 3 years that they sent a couple of people down to check in on the place. Yet, when their contract was ended, 4 people show up right away to walk Lisa out the door. Make it make sense. As of January 26th, Minnesota Department of Health has issued multiple substantial neglect findings against Cornerstone Management, most notably in Lino Lakes. Between 20 and 25, investigators documented 7 substantial neglect complaints at a single site alone, one resulting in the death of a resident and a major lawsuit. The Minnesota Department of Health also found Cornerstone Management quality to be substantial neglect to 2 other facilities. I don't see how we can trust Cornerstone. I'll leave it at that. It's just, there's a lot more we could go into detail, but it's where I'm at with it. And any questions, I'll answer them.
Any questions for Kevin?
Cornerstone's never been out to talk to since they've managed it.
Not to me personally.
Uh-huh.
In fact, the day they did a transition, 2 Cornerstone members were up in the community room, and basically all they did was play a video for you to watch. I think, if I remember correctly, I think Lisa had to go up there and say, you guys need to introduce yourself to the staff, walk around the building. I actually called as a Cornerstone for their advice on fire alarms. Not sure we were replacing smoke detectors, and I just wanted to know what code it was for if we were carbon monoxide detectors. And there are 120 some smoke detectors, maybe. My response, or that I got from that representative Cornerstone, was just make them all dual purpose. That way you don't have to worry about it. That's an extra $40 per smoke alarm that if you don't need it. Do the math. But what are we paying them for? That kind of answer? There was no, I'll get back to you, let me look into it. It was just do more. It's temperance money, guys. No, they did. I've never met with one. Calling me up any concerns. Like I said, you didn't really see them there.
That's for carbon monoxide and fire detector.
Yes.
What's the carbon monoxide detector cost?
Oh, $65.
How many do those need to be put in?
What's that?
How many of them are in there compared to the fire smoke?
Well, some rooms have 2, some have 4. Like I said, a carbon monoxide detector runs at like $65. A regular smoke detector, $20. So they're, you're talking $45 difference, and it can be as many as, 50 to 75 smoke detectors that you are paying extra for that is not needed. I just didn't think the answer was very, I just felt poor. I mean, I won't say how much.
Expectancy of these fire.
7 to 10 years. I was.
Are they battery or hardwired?
They are hardwired with a battery backup. And like I said, after they recommend 7 years, replace them out. Some of them will just start beeping and saying they go bad at 5. We just don't get a
So
guarantee on it, but
carbon monoxide and smoke detectors are all hardwired.
yes, they are hardwired with a battery backup. They're also carbon monoxide hardwired in hallways. This was referring to each individual rooms,
Any other questions for Kevin?
That's the only contact that you've had with Cornerstone and in this time that they've managed it.
Yes, for me, yes.
Mhm. And you're the head of maintenance, right?
And how many weeks has that been now?
So,
How many weeks since Cornerstone's been taken over?
I think it was right before Christmas. I want to say around December 15th.
No more questions. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Next one is Lisa Lang. Temple Lake Ridge, defensive allegations made by some staff.
So I wanted to start out with the allegations that Cornerstone put in for their roadblocks. So starting out with roadblocks for Eldermark, they wanted to switch to a different platform, which Eldermark does the same thing. The main reason why we wanted to keep Eldermark is because it does the same thing, and Cornerstone was billing wrong for elderly waiver. It was determined that Cornerstone had not billed the elderly waiver program correctly for a number of residents, resulting in revenue shortfall for our organization. Furthermore, Cornerstone applied management fees on this tax-funded program inappropriately. The discrepancy was reported by me to the city. Then the city took it over and made Cornerstone pay back what was lost in revenue and also the management fee they charged on top of it. I also identified and addressed a reoccurring issue where Cornerstone utilized what I feel an inappropriate forward-looking revenue projection model for their management fee, causing overcharges to be billed for the city of Sherburn for their management fee. I reported this to the city, leading to the implementation of an accurate billing system based on services rendered, not guessing on what revenue would be there. I dealt with this specifically with Andrea, and she's the one that had them come in and help deal with it. As far as a huge one, that a roadblock that they're going to talk about today is they tried to implement a labor reduction plan. And so for you, Nancy, that you know this too. Part of the roadblocks Cornerstone claims that was causing them and submitted to the city for this meeting was that they tried to implement a labor reduction plan for 2023 through 2024, stating that we were overspending on labor. Previous to 2023, we had expanded our memory care apartments, and then COVID hit and admissions halted. At the end of 2022 and into 2023, we were finally able to start trying to fill these apartments. So as we were trying to fill them and getting more residents, we needed more staff to meet the resident needs. Furthermore, we do not use the same staffing model that Cornerstone uses. We do not staff according to the number of residents. We staff according to the acuity, the level of care residents need. Because the more care they need, the more staff they need. So yes, I fought for staff labor. Yes, I was written up and it was put in my record for fighting for staff labor. So that is in there. I feel like we have had to fight for staffing, staff wages, benefits, lower rent increases than what Cornerstone has wanted. And those are just a couple of the big ones. As far as the other ones, your question about providing staff education. So the Minnesota Department of Health, when they come in, they go in depth on staff training. And they did that when they came into our building. And we have excellent results with that. We do go above and beyond. We still go above and beyond what is required. Cornerstone would assign on Educare and on Relias their core courses for us. And we had 60 courses extra that our staff did because we wanted them to have that additional extra classes. Also, since I left, Educare has been down and Cornerstone has not done anything so that staff can continue their education on Educare. As far as the other roadblocks,
Can I speak up real quick? I can verify that with Lisa on that, not getting the address ready. I've checked it myself. And then we just can't get it going. That's the answer.
so as far as trying to hire staff, we've offered, starting sign-on bonuses. referral bonuses. We use Indeed. One thing Cornerstone will say is that Indeed costs a lot, costs our business a lot of money. And it did, because Indeed is what works for our area. We tried Cornerstone's other platforms. We were not getting hardly any applications. There is a reason why the other assisted livings and nursing homes in this area use Indeed, because that's what the people in this area look for jobs. So yes, the money was worth it, because what happens if you don't have staff? You get substantiated neglect from the Minnesota Department of Health, like Cornerstone has. There is questions about the Facebook account. That was 2 employees there have rights that has already been turned over to Alicia to start ownership of that. As far as Cornerstone's ProCare HR number, that has always been hung above the time clock. That has always been, staff has never, ever been told they can't call Cornerstone. Matter of fact, Brian, you had an employee call you about having time taken out of their punches when reviewing the cameras. It was found that they were actually punching for breaks, punching back in and leaving the building. And you're fully aware of that. So they do call you guys. As far as, there was questions about the workout room, that was a residents vote, council vote. They wanted the equipment moved, except for 2 equipments moved out of the wellness center. So they kept what they wanted. They wanted to be able to do other activities in that area. And so the rest of the workout equipment was moved to the staff break room so they could use it too. Let's see. Corners or Temperance Lake Ridge has always fought for staff wages. They're going to say that I only did 25 cents. We went by what Cornerstone allowed us. We also did, besides paying higher than in the area, we also did shift differentials, $1 for evening shift and $3.50 extra for overnight shift. We also paid staff if they picked up $2 an hour more for when picking up hours. There's a question made about the dirty soda bar. That was provided for staff. People say, why don't you give higher wages? Because with higher wages, you pay payroll taxes, you pay a bunch of stuff. This is just something minor we could add for staff. The coffee bar, the soda bar, we did provide the supplies for it. We did. When Cornerstone walked me out of the building, there were supplies still in my office, and they refused to give them to staff. I know you had Julie Weber write a letter and call about that too. She witnessed it firsthand. As far as other ones, Sunbound. We didn't want to switch our system from Eldermark. It has automated billing also. Savant is a staff satisfaction survey. We already had the system in place that we were already doing. They're going to talk about Indeed. And I guess my final thoughts are, I was asked to manage because Cornerstone, because of what was going on with Cornerstone. I guess I would like to end on this stating that due to the urgency related to potential legal issues with Cornerstone and the city wanting out of their contract with Cornerstone as soon as possible is why I agreed to manage as Embark. I'm here today with the mindset that I only want what is best for the residents and staff at Temperance and for the city of Sherburn, whether that is Embark taking over or whether it's a different management company. I would also like to say, Brian has asked me several times, and once in Andrea's office, or made a comment that he would like his other executive directors to come to my building so I could train them in, because we do so well. The building does so well. So I think that is a testament to his trust in me in the first place. Also, giving this recognition for the quarters that I was there in 2025 for the Minnesota Department of Health survey, which is in depth on resident cares. Also, I'd like to talk to you about the volunteer ombudsman. We've had a volunteer ombudsman come into Temperance Lake Ridge for the last 3 years.
Can you tell us what an ombudsman is?
They are all for advocacy for resident rights. So we volunteered for Kay to come in, and Dave would come in too, almost weekly for 3 years. Their whole job when they came in, or their whole focus was to talk to residents to see how things were going, to see if there were concerns. That was for 3 years. They ended shortly a couple of months before I left, but we never had any concerns of abuse or neglect. We had some reoccurring concerns of food and menu options and timely serving for food, about the parking lot needing more handicap, which we were working on with the city, handicap parking, those kind of things. For 3 years, we never had. We did very well with the ombudsman being there. I know Cornerstone is going to try to tear me down with what they have to say, but they recognize me for doing a great job. And also, this, like I said, the surveys, the recognition, the 19 years I've been there, I think should speak volumes. All I have to say.
Any questions for Lisa? We'll just take it up from our table. Any
When
que-
did you start in Park?
Nope. I want to say, does it say February of 2025? Whatever it says in the secretary.
What's that?
I think it's February of 2025.
So it's been in the works for some time.
Yes. That is, so for clarification with that, that is because of issues with like the elderly waiver and having issues with Cornerstone. And there were other management companies contacted during that time to see if they would take over Temperance Lake Bridge.
Well, the first that we heard it on the council was in October. So
Yeah. There was an Ecumen and Ebenezer were contacted to try to take over. They're going to take over. And they're contacted if see if they would take over, and they wouldn't. And then,
Brookdale.
what's that?
Brookdale.
Brookdale.
Yeah.
In their Mankato assisted living, they were contacted, but they had large turnover, so they didn't want to take on this project at that time. So there was other people contacted.
what company was that one?
Brookdale.
Brookdale. That's in Mankato. Any other questions for Lisa?
Well, I know when I brought this up to you the other night, Brad, when you first get it started, the first month was supposed to be $15,000. And then it got changed to a startup fee well before that you take over. What was why was it changed?
That change came about because we weren't hearing back from Cornerstone. So in order to take over and get it started, because the transition, on the advice of Taz, the city attorney, was to do everything we could to make sure things were ready, because Cornerstone could drop us at any moment.
So the attorney sent a letter to Cornerstone on the address that was on the contract.
Mhm.
The contract had the wrong address on it.
I recall that.
So that mail went out and didn't come back for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So in the meantime, he sent a certified letter to that same address that is on our contract. And that came back also because it was the wrong address. So, and then we found out what the correct address was and sent them a letter. So that's why things were delayed. And so we thought this had to happen right away, which it could have had to happen right away, or else we'd be without any direction at Temperance Lake Ridge. And our payroll system would be in jeopardy. So it was from the city's attorney. That's why that all happened right away. Any other questions for Lisa?
You have everything that you need to manage it, licensing, belts, all those types
Yes,
of
but
certifications and.
we have everything we need to manage it.
So that you had the management fee and then there's HR on top of that. Is that correct?
Yes, just the way this, same as what,
Same as what we're doing now.
yes.
And consultants and stuff too?
Yep.
And we're just taking it from our table right now.
Oh.
Anyone else? Ronnie? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cornerstone Management, Timber Lake Ridge.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Marcy McNeil, and I serve as the Corporate Director of Operations for Cornerstone Management. I'm here on behalf of Cornerstone, having been on site for the better part of the last 30 days. When I finish my statement, Ryan Ravelette, our Chief Operating Officer, will address specific allegations. I want to begin by acknowledging the seriousness of the concerns raised and the city's responsibility to protect residents, employees, and the public trust. Cornerstone views that responsibility is shared. We do not take lightly what is before you tonight. What I would like to do is walk you through what happened, what changed, what we uncovered once it changed, and why Cornerstone is asking for a defined and accountable period through the end of this year to demonstrate what a property governed Cornerstone facility can and will do. This is not an effort to minimize deficiencies, excuse failures, or disparage any individual. It is an explanation of how governance broke down, how accountability was restored, and what that restoration has revealed. The termination that has been discussed repeatedly is central to the story, so it is important to be clear. Cornerstone did not terminate Mrs. Lang because we believed she did not care about residents or employees. We have never asserted that she acted with ill intent toward those in her care. The termination occurred for one reason: the undisclosed formation and operation of a separate company, Embark, while Mrs. Lang held a senior position of trust and authority within Cornerstone's operations. This created a material conflict of interest. The date of creation of Embark was February 2025, well before the fall of 2025. When a senior leader operates with divided loyalties or undisclosed control interests, governance erodes. Reporting lines blur. Oversight weakens. Not because people stop caring, but because accountability mechanisms no longer function as needed. That conflict did not just affect Cornerstone internally. When the city approved the management agreement involving Embark, ownership information was technically included, but it appeared only on the final page of the materials. As a practical matter, the true ownership and control structure was not clearly apparent from the primary documents typically relied upon in an approval process. Clear, prominent disclosure matters. Transparency is what allows conflicts to be identified and addressed early. In this case, that clarity did not exist, externally or internally. Once the conflict was removed, Cornerstone immediately reinstated its standard oversight and reporting controls. That is the turning point in the story. With governance restored, Cornerstone conducted a comprehensive review of operations, staffing, documentation, and compliance. It was during that review, after safeguards were back in place, that we identified the issues outlined on the final 2 pages of the materials before you. Those deficiencies were not ignored. They were not excused. They were not previously visible under a compromised governance structure. What the review revealed were not isolated clerical mistakes, but systemic gaps. Documentation that did not accurately reflect practice, training, and supervision records that were inconsistent, and reporting processes that should have escalated concerns but did not. In other words, controls existed on paper, but they were not being operationalized, monitored, or audited. Accountability had become assumed rather than verified. The fact that these issues surfaced once oversight was restored is not evidence of delayed concern. It is evidence that accountability was finally functioning. This same dynamic helps explain the employee letters the council has received. Cornerstone does not dispute that those letters exist, and we do not dismiss the sentiments expressed, but context matters. During confidential interviews conducted after oversight safeguards were reinstated, multiple employees, including some who later submitted letters, shared concerns that they feared retaliation from Embark and from Mrs. Lang personally. Some expressed worry that their words would be used against them. Others made statements to Cornerstone representatives that were materially different from what later appeared in writing. Several employees stated they were unaware that Cornerstone or ProCare even existed and believed there was no authority above Mrs. Lang. That perception alone is a governance failure, regardless of intent. Cornerstone is not asking the city to disregard employee voices. We are asking that those voices be understood within the environment in which they were expressed. The same is true with respect to staffing changes. Employees who were terminated for specific documented violations of Cornerstone policy, attendance violations, on-duty disparagement of Cornerstone, and in Mrs. Lang's case, the undisclosed creation and operation of a conflicting business. Other employees chose to leave voluntarily. That is not uncommon when a management company reasserts oversight and begins enforcing policies that were previously unenforced. What is less visible is that remaining staff expressed appreciation for restored structure, consistency, and clarity around expectations. That feedback matters, even if it is quieter. During interviews, Cornerstone also became aware of a serious allegation involving sexual misconduct. According to multiple employees, that concern was raised internally and not addressed. Cornerstone is not advocating that allegation here nor assigning guilt, but the belief among employees that such a concern could not be safely escalated speaks volumes about the environment that existed, one where safeguards were perceived as ineffective and authority as absolute. That is precisely the environment Cornerstone has been working to dismantle. Since restoring governance, Cornerstone has reestablished clear reporting lines, implemented standardized documentation and audit protocols, required retraining where gaps were identified, and increased corporate level monitoring to ensure compliance is verified on an ongoing basis. We are not asking the city to overlook what happened. We are asking to be evaluated under conditions that should have existed all along. Our request is narrow and accountable. We ask the city to allow Cornerstone through the end of this year to demonstrate, under continued city oversight, transparency, and measurable benchmarks, what a Cornerstone managed facility can do. This is not an open-ended request. It is not a request for leniency without accountability. It is a request for a defined, observable demonstration period, with the city retaining full authority at all times. Cornerstone accepts responsibility for outcomes at this facility. We believe our interests and the city's interests are aligned: safe residents, supported employees, and operations that meet the standards this community expects. Granting this limited period allows the city to evaluate Cornerstone not during a time of compromised governance, but under conditions of restored integrity, transparency, and accountability. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your continued commitment to the people this facility serves.
Any questions? I have one.
Yes.
So if everything is so bad out there from when Lisa was managing, why did the management company not take control and make those changes when everything was wrong?
Staff members did not understand that Cornerstone Management existed and ProCare, our HR department,
I'm not talking
existed.
about the employees. I'm talking about why didn't you make Lisa follow the rules then?
So when employees don't feel comfortable raising their concerns because Lisa enforced that she was the ultimate authority, Cornerstone was not made aware of the allegations that came to light once Cornerstone was on property after Mrs. Lang's termination.
Can I ask a question?
How are we doing on our elderly waivers? Are they up to date? Because I know in the third quarter, we were behind. And are we being charged our 5.5% on the total that has not been collected?
Sure, that portion will be when Mr. Ravelette, our COO, speaks.
Okay, how is our staffing currently at Temperance Lake Ridge?
The staffing model is exceptional at this time.
Because I've heard we're supposed to have 3 people on overnights and we've had 2.
You have 2 staff members that are on personal leaves of absence during this 1-week period alone. Our staffing is meeting the minimal level of requirements for the state of Minnesota.
Minimum?
1 person on overnights for memory care, 1 person on overnights for assisted living.
I thought we were under some kind of model that we had to have one that was a floater between the front and the back.
When you have 2 staff members that are on personal leave and we accommodated that leave because it was approved before Cornerstone came here, that becomes exceptionally challenging. However, we do meet those minimal requirements for staffing.
So the Minnesota Department of Health wouldn't have any issue with
They
that?
would not.
Okay. Let's see. How many people do you have now working that took over Lisa's job?
We have an interim
Because she
executive.
was a nurse and an executive director.
We have an interim executive director and Sarah Hook is our interim director of nursing.
So you hired 2 people to do her job.
We provided an opportunity for oversight because when 2 people are serving in that position, there is no accountability. There is no one else to bounce ideas off of. You cannot have a representation of one. You must have, for a best practice, multiple people in those roles.
Did we do it for 19 years?
Poorly.
Poorly? How poorly?
There's a
What was
lack.
the deficiency?
Sure, your lack of oversight. All decisions laid and rested upon Mrs. Lang.
When there should have been 2 people.
Best practice, if you read your regulations for Minnesota assisted livings, their recommendation is to have 2 separate people serving in those roles.
Have you had any pool staff?
Temporary labor.
Yep.
I became an employee of Cornerstone in June of 2025. So under my knowledge, there has not been. But again, Mr. Ravelette, when he speaks regarding specifics,
How are the bills being paid?
they are sent to Mark in accounting. Those checks are then printed out, sent to the city. The city signs those bills and then make those bills come through.
Because I haven't signed a check for quite a while and I'm on,
Oh, they're over there.
They're here for you tonight.
nobody told me that, so.
We're still holding a check as well that you've been holding for some time.
Any other questions for Cornerstone?
Why is that check being held? Check being held?
How long is the check? I think Brad.
I'll let Brad speak to why that is being held.
Waiver, make sure that was being paid.
It's a Cornerstone management check.
Mr. Ravelette.
So for the staff, it should always been 2 people.
It is a best practice, yes.
How, I don't understand. I understand how this is being brought to our attention and all this discrepancy but if this is Cornerstone policy and they don't agree with how things were being run, because I don't know how to run I don't know how to run an assisted living facility. So that's why we've hired a management team. And is it not their responsibility to make sure that everything is being done properly?
Sure. So
What-
Mr. Ravelette can speak to the 3 years of experience he has working with Lisa Direct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Share as well.
No, no, I think the biggest understanding, and I think roadblocks that we've come across truly has been Lisa not wanting to be a part of our organization and a part of change. I mean, and as Marcy outlined, we have no intention of disparaging Lisa. She's been in the building for a very long time. I do think she has done several things very well. And I don't want to discount her care for the residents and the staff that she does care for. I think there is definitely favoritism that plays in here. It is obviously a family affair. It is obviously very close to this community. And so our biggest piece when we came into this building was really, and our mantra as a management company is we do not want to come in and change the feel of a community. If it is operating well and things are going the way they should be going, we're not going to come in and cause a big stir. We want to work with Lisa and continue the process as it is going and make improvements along the way. A lot of the pieces that we wanted to do and wanted to improve upon were denied. And I mean, this goes back to, I mean, Lisa and I can probably attest to this. Lisa and I would argue about everything. Anything I wanted Lisa to try to do or something we wanted to do, it was always a fight. When you look at all of our Facebook posts, the one time we left her out of that Facebook post, I got an email within 5 minutes. Why was I not included? You know, so there is a lot of, we talk about, and we're maybe not using the word because we're trying to be politically correct. There's a lot of bullying that happens at Temperance Lake to the employees. Same thing with our corporate staff. Okay. I can tell you that our corporate employees do not want to talk to Lisa. They avoid her at all costs, to the point that the COO is the one that is dealing with our executive director. Marcy McNeil, who's our corporate director of operations, who joined us about 7 months ago, is not even over Minnesota. Marcy oversees our Iowa, Colorado, and Missouri properties. The reason we brought Marcy in when we let Lisa go is because we wanted an unbiased opinion. We wanted someone that has been in the industry for how long? 20 plus years, that could come in and evaluate the situation without bias. Because our entire corporate team has felt alienated one time or another with Lisa, and we probably have the emails with it. And to the fact that our mantra changed with Lisa, because I mean, to the point that I came down and met with Andrea and Lisa in person to hash this out. Well, how do you expect us to operate as a management company when we can't make changes? We can't make decisions because we're being roadblocked. Okay. So our biggest thing has been, and there's endless opportunities. I'm not discounting Lisa as a strong ED and that she knows the regulations and she does some things well, but there are many things that would lax because there isn't proper oversight. There isn't more than one person in the building that has authority to make decisions and oversee those residents. And to be truthful, when we could never come to this building unannounced, when we did, hell to pay and attitude for our staff. And the alienation piece is why we've avoided it. And not to discount that, but at the end of the day, there's many things that we as a management company can do. And we operate 17 senior living buildings. Our portfolio is about 30 with our multifamily side. We do a lot of things well. Have we had our mistakes in the past? Absolutely. Every company has. You know, you can pull up our news articles that Mr. Lang referred to. Every company, look up your biggest Minnesota companies, look up all of them. Everyone has issues because you have, unfortunately, disgruntled staff. That things happen. You can't control everybody. When you got over 1,000 employees, I can't control everybody. Things happen. Unfortunate things happen. So I think our biggest pieces here that we really wanted to highlight, we put notes on this because we wanted it to be factual information. The fact that when you walk in and the second we get access to email, there's 2,500 unread emails to the executive director. What of those unread emails were important things that were missed? Family members that weren't responded to. Employees that weren't responded to.
If you access your email on your phone, that doesn't always check it off your box on your computer.
Mine does. Outlook does.
It does not do that at Temperance Lake Ridge.
Okay.
So
Temperance was, when we took over the management of the contract, was on our computer company, our computer consulting company. Lisa made that decision to switch back to Midwest or whatever company it's with currently. That was, again, something forced that we allowed because it was going to be a fight.
Because they're part of our city.
That's fine. But if you're having issues with it, why are we not using the one we don't have issues with?
That's not such an issue.
You know, employees, and Marcy said it as well. I mean, the amount of employees that have come forward with concerns, not knowing where to contact, not knowing who to reach out to when they have questions, concerns, comments. I do think, and we have had our fair share. There's been a few that have come across, but we have Cornerstone posters that in every other building are hung prominently where residents can find them, employees can find them with how to get a hold of us, what resources we have. And since this change, I mean, Marcy was telling me today, we're handing out our employee helpline information for counseling, because that's the fear that is going through employees, not knowing where this community is going, what direction it is going. I think I've covered most of these points. The employee resident posters, failure to, the van drivers, not having proper people drive the van.
Why did Cornerstone not let us know we needed to do that?
Cornerstone did not have access to the city council. Because we have asked,
You have access to the city council any time we have a meeting.
That's fair, but we have tried multiple times to have conversations. We talked about having financial reviews at the beginning of 2025, and it was shut down by Lisa. They don't want to do that. Referring to the TLR committee, things such as that. We've had these conversations. I mean, I can find the emails if you would like proof.
Yeah,
I mean, because we have done these pieces, we've tried to engage, and it was really until Andrea became the city clerk and that we had more communication that we were able to solve some of these issues. But as I said, the last conversation Andrea and I had in early 2025 with Lisa present was that the city of Sherburn did not want the building to be a Cornerstone building. They wanted Lisa to manage it and to be the Lisa Lang way.
That was when?
That was February of 25. And 3 days later is when the LLC for Embark was formed.
I was not aware of that part.
I informed council in when this meeting occurred that we were having this meeting with Lisa and Ryan to come together as a team building work session, essentially with the three of us, to make sure that Cornerstone knew and understood, as Cornerstone had been coming to me directly wanting answers and clarification on things. While in my position, I am not privy to a lot of that. And instead we bring in, as a city, Lisa Lang as executive director to assist in some of this decision making.
Well, we did have a meeting in maybe October, October-ish. We were going through the Cornerstone contract to make some changes in the Cornerstone contract. We did have that meeting and we were going to make changes, but then we had other issues that came up and decided to go a different direction.
And was that the Temperance Lake Ridge Committee you're
Mhm.
speaking on? Okay.
I think roadblocks, Lisa already highlighted several of these. Our Temperance is the only community in our portfolio that is not on the same platforms process as the rest of our communities. A lot of these that we list here are, one, revenue generating and or cost savings pieces that help the community thrive. Lisa brought up Indeed. Temperance in the month of December spent over $8,000 on Indeed cost recruitment. All of our other portfolios, senior housing buildings, 15 other buildings combined, $6,000.
Do they all meet the state standard? The state minimum standard as well?
Yeah.
The minimum standard, 'cause she's
Yes.
very adamant about the minimum standard.
This week we're short-staffed due to some time off happening, but yes, the building, and in the state of Minnesota, there's no specific requirements, whereas some states do require. You have to have one person per however many X residents. The state of Minnesota does not have a specific requirement in that capacity.
That is true.
Minnesota is very relaxed on some of those pieces. Same thing with nursing. You do not have to have a nurse in the building X number of hours per week. You just have to have 24/7 on-call coverage by an RN. These pieces are pieces that we implemented across the board. We saw revenue generation increases, we saw savings increases, and non-biased resident and employee satisfaction. I mean, Savant in itself, our satisfaction surveys tool, we went live with that in October across our portfolio. I don't know what platform Lisa's referring to that they do at Temperance separate from this, other than maybe the manual papers that were going out prior, which we felt in any way, if you're handing a community 10 paper surveys, who's to say I'm not the one filling it out, turning it back in? Okay. And so when you're getting actual survey results from our employees and our residents, I mean, we're seeing very low scores, 67.9 for the 1 month that it was live before Lisa canceled the contract, with 2, not glowing reviews that you can read. And I mean, that's a concern. That's very concerning to us to say that, especially at lowest in our portfolio, that's concerning to us. And this is where we don't feel that the employees and residents here are given the adequate anonymous ability to leave feedback in this community. Our true ask here, I think, is really, we have felt roadblocked on every decision we've tried to make for temperance. We have felt alienated by this individual. And so now it's at a point where that we've stepped her out. We've hired a phenomenal interim executive director, Jenny, who's sitting here with us, who, if you have specific questions, she'd be willing to answer for the specific at the property. She's been in the building for the last 3-4 weeks, and is disheartened by what she's hearing from these staff. Jenny has not worked with us before. We have no prior relationship prior to her joining us as an interim executive director at Temperance Lake Ridge. You can feel like that's worth noting. Other comments in addition to what we've already provided, I think that's worth commenting on. You mentioned the termination of the contract being sent to our previous address. We switched locations. We've been in our new office location for almost 3 years. So the temperance contract was signed. We started in December of 22. We moved in June the following year. Our management contract checks and all of our checks are sent to the right address. So the fact
Why
that
didn't
that
you
was,
update the contracts?
well, and that maybe have been a miss. I don't disagree with that, but the city knows the correct address. So I'm just a
No,
comment.
not really.
Lisa talked about raises, not even something I brought up, but the employees raises, looking through what the employees are given, 25 cents an hour, blah, blah, blah. We have a form that auto calculates a raise based off the performance evaluation on our core values. Does not get used in temperance. There are no given, but not used. There are no reviews in any of the employee files that we've looked through at the location. And Lisa herself emails one of our corporate team members when it's her annual time to get her 3% review. No reviews filled out. She just emails us and says, hey, please give me this 3%. Or Angela, as a HR representative on site, will email and say, hey, give this 3%.
Can we see those emails?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, and I've told Lisa this, I don't, like I said, Lisa's done some great things. There's some challenges, but she's done some great things. She's been here a very long time. There's tenure. That does say something. But in the same breath, I've told Lisa, you're giving yourself less than if you just let us do your review like we do all of our other executive directors.
She'd rather take care of her staff than herself.
And that's fine. I'm not discounting that either. But the fact that we're only giving staff 25-cent raises, except for one nurse that Lisa has a soft spot for, again, favoritism piece. I think, our biggest things here, have been highlighted. I think like I've said earlier, we tried to set up financial reviews with the TLR committee, I believe at the time. I think we actually had a calendar invite back in early 2025, or it was the end of 24. We discussed with Lisa, hey, we want to start meeting with someone besides just Lisa, and try to set up those committee meetings. We can look for those calendar invites as well, because I remember Lisa specifically saying, well, they don't want to do that.
You have the city's number?
I talked to Andrea directly when I called the city, but we set those up, I believe, with yourself and whoever else at the time was on the TLR committee.
I don't believe I ever got an email or
We can look.
call.
We can look for
Go
sure.
ahead and look and send it to me if you would.
Ultimately, I think, our ask is really, if given the proper opportunity to manage this building, I feel like we've made a ton of progress in the last month, with Jenny and Marcy behind the wheel, guiding the team, hearing the feedback from the team and the residents. I think morale is in a good spot. There are some investigations, as Marcy mentioned, that are going on with previous staff members. We've had to terminate some previous staff members due to some violations of our handbook. And we're working on changing the culture to be more positive and to allow for employees and our residents to feel that they can make comments and make adjustments as needed. Ultimately, we feel that this building is performing very well. There's a lot of opportunity for improvement and a lot of opportunity, I think, to ultimately, give more back to the city without the exorbitant extra spend that's been happening for the last several years.
Any questions for Ryan?
So can I ask, as a management company, and you're stepping in any facility, I understand that you didn't want to come in and change everything that they're used to functioning this way. And then, but your Cornerstone company, this is how we function. This is how, so could you not have, whether Lisa wanted to do it or not, any executive director that you have at any facility, if they're used to doing it way A, and you say, this is the way we do it, and couldn't you not just guide them into changing it? And if that's the case, I just wonder why Cornerstone did, and maybe they did, I don't know, because I'm not on the TLR committee, but why Cornerstone didn't come down and make sure that things are being done the way they would want them done. And even if she had a different way of running things, still meeting your expectations as which it is a wonderful facility.
It was roadblock after roadblock. And not
did you
being,
try to
and not being able to communicate with the right people or the decision makers. Hence why Andrea and Lisa and I had this meeting. Because in our world in senior housing and as a management company, we do not talk to our executive director about the things that we talk to Lisa as. Lisa acts as an owner of the building. That is how she acts and how she treats the building. And so we are used to speaking to owner representatives, which is why I go to Andrea until Andrea said, you need to go to Lisa. Well, then we're in this never ending loop, which from a city perspective is concerning in my own personal opinion, because you have an executive director who is overseeing the building, who's also part of the committee. And every time we ask something, oh, well, the city wants it done this way. The city wants it done this way. But I'm not hearing that from the city. I'm hearing that from our employee, which is highly unusual and the only building I've ever been in that is operated this way.
You should have been directing some of these issues to us.
Absolutely. And
Us.
yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you in that. I think that is for lack of us knowing who to communicate with, ultimately.
Was that not clear when
When
you?
we first signed the contract was with the previous mayor, who I apologize if I don't remember his name.
Right.
And I was not involved in the very beginning because Mark, our CEO, Mark Dixon, was involved with that. Mark had many phone calls with the mayor at the time on the weekends and several calls with the mayor at that time.
Who was part of the TLR committee at that time?
TLR committee, when Bob Ressler was still mayor, would have been Lisa Lang, Bob Ressler, and Brad Ringnow. And at that time, Leslie was still city administrator. When I met with Ryan and Lisa, TLR committee was Lisa Lang, Tucker Schumann, and Brad Ringnow. And I had been directed to direct questions to Lisa, as she is the one who is operating the facility, is working at the facility, is there day to day, and understands the day-to-day operations.
Any other questions for Ryan?
I think needs of the patient, come first at a facility like that. I can't speak for our council, but that probably I would say comes first. Does that facility not have right now patients that require a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 care?
I am, unfortunately, I'm not as fully aware of that. Jenny or
It's assisted living, so 3-to-1 doesn't exist in assisted living.
How are you doing service contracts
service contracts in relation to.
having the patient or resident pay for services? Was that supposed to be done by an RN or?
I guess I'm confused what you're asking. Like our assessments of our care?
Or so somebody moves in and you do a service contract and you have to do all the charges for that patient?
Yeah, there's multiple.
It's supposed to be done by an RN.
Correct.
You were having an assistant director do that?
I am not aware of that.
No, RNs on staff.
The RNs are doing the assessment, but an assistant was preparing the actual invoice. They're hitting a print button and printing them out.
How many empty apartments do we have currently?
There's 6.
6? That's probably the most we've had in
But when
probably.
in December of 15, there was how many?
Or 8. Yeah, I want to say between 8 and 10 empty and mid-December,
When was this?
right prior to December 14th. There are 8 to 10 empty, 2 move-ins occurred, so it dropped down to. So there were 2 to 4 move-ins within the last 30 days.
2 to 4, is that 2 or is
We've
4?
had 4 move-ins in the last 30 days.
You
But
do
there
have a
was-
waiting list.
We've always had a waiting list.
Yeah. I don't know where it is.
There's lots of things that I understand you are unable to find, locate.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, with Ms. Lang's departure and the other senior level leadership member being on family medical protected leave, we are unable to ask her any questions regarding the business as to her federally protected right under her medical leave.
Any other questions for Ryan?
So some of the questions that someone might have for you, it's not that you're not willing to give that information, you're just gonna find the information.
We attempted to determine some of the information. We asked for an on-site meeting. We were told that the other Mrs. Lang would prefer to utilize her uninterrupted right to FMLA. So we are unable to ask her any questions until she returns, and she has the opportunity to take up to 12 weeks of leave permitted by federal law.
When you first came into TLR, is the open rooms less now than it was a month ago?
Yes, we've had
Right.
events.
Right.
We've
Okay.
continued business and we've done tours since, and we've moved in people without their assistance.
Is there documentation for that?
For their move-ins, absolutely, the Elder Mark review will show the date of move-ins.
Been multiple deaths too.
There's been.
Are we up to date on our Eldermark buildings? Can you show us that also? Can you send that to me? So if we went on the state site and looked under one of the patients, it would say they're up to date.
Do you want all of the public billing information?
It's on it to Andrea so that she can disperse it to all the council.
Any other questions for Ryan?
So, and I too know that there's always been a waiting list for people to move in there, because my mom lived there. And she too was on a waiting list. So I find it odd that, I mean, not everybody's ready. They're on the waiting list. They might not be ready when the room opens up. I understand that.
An exhaustive search was completed on the computer that Mrs. Lang was using, and unfortunately, the file structure was not particularly organized. However, if you do a search for a list, wait list, nothing of that kind pops up.
Okay.
And you are utilizing a computer that has records for the last
It's in a binder.
4+ years.
Cameras, are they gonna be left on now for the rest of the time?
Yes, our only
Is
hiccup.
there
with
any
cameras-
reason why we'd ever shut our cameras off?
The only reason I think we had issues with cameras was getting proper access to them and making sure Lisa no longer had access to them.
When I spoke with Carlos at Midwest IT just this afternoon, he did reiterate that there are multiple tickets with Midwest IT that reflect anytime that there is an internet pickup, that system is reluctant to go back online. So this, for example, there was extreme weather this weekend.
Wi-Fi was down.
So then the system did not go back online and a person has to physically go to unplug it and plug it back in.
I know that Alan had, and I was going to update council on this, Alan, who is the president of Midwest IT, had stopped in my office last week to discuss the cameras. The concern was that they had been shut off, dating back to December 29th. Or the main camera system had been shut off. At that time, I believe he worked with either or both of you in regards to getting those back up and getting them in a secured location, as he was not able to determine whom it potentially could have been who shut those off. He also stated at that time that there were multiple Ring cameras that were located hidden in plants.
I don't mean to backtrack, but Lisa, you had said that the waiting list is in a binder. Has that been provided?
No one's asked me for it. I didn't know they didn't need it.
When an employee is terminated, we really can't
Okay.
reach out to them.
Okay.
The state of that office, unfortunately, was one that is taking in excess of 30 days to go through and figure out what's
Yeah.
what.
I just want to make sure that the waiting list gets provided if there's
Absolutely.
somebody waiting to get in.
Sure, I did not.
We haven't gotten phone calls.
Okay.
But we,
I'm on the.
we haven't observed any physical binders within Mrs. Lang's office themselves. The office was full of overflowing desk drawers and cabinets where things would fall out when you open the drawer.
Thank you.
You mentioned hidden ring doorbell cameras.
That is what Alan from Midwest IT stated that he found when he did a walkthrough with Cornerstone.
That's not legal, is it?
It is not, the state of Minnesota does not allow audio recording. The Ring cameras provided audio recording.
How many did they find of them?
There was at least half a dozen that were deposited in the executive director's office that he had located.
Hmm.
They were associated with an Amazon account that is not a Temperance Lake account,
So they belong to who?
not Temperance Lake.
A resident?
Unlikely, but perhaps.
So so it could be anyone.
Absolutely. I'm sure Alan would be able to provide more information.
You don't know what Amazon account it's linked with.
We know that it's not account. So that's how we know it's not the Temperance Lake.
Absolutely.
But-
Alan had
Yeah,
informed
you
me
need
that
that
that-
West IT and find that information.
Someone has to be paying the bill.
What kind of locations were they in?
Outside of the salon.
Any other questions?
So moving forward, if you were to stay the management company, which we're asking for, so how would the transparency work between Cornerstone, TLR, and the city?
Absolutely. I mean, one of our core values is responsiveness and honesty and integrity. And, our whole mission, and that's what I'm saying, all of our other ownership entities, Marcy and I talk to on a weekly basis or monthly, depending on who it is, or bi-weekly, but we're talking to all of our people regularly, except this location.
This is the only location that has functioned like this.
Absolutely. And it's been more than frustrating to our team. And because we haven't had that ability, I feel to talk to the right people because we're stopped when we try. And so much so that when Leslie was still the administrator, I sent a letter to Leslie to have her sign off on the budget so that I knew that it was reviewed by the city.
We've never seen the budget.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Yeah. Well, then that,
How about,
that's
do you
a
have this
concern.
year's budget?
We never made it because we didn't know what the state of affairs were when our management contract notice was given. We're more
So you
than
never
willing.
even started the
So we're
budget?
more than
Because
we had
it's-
something started, but we did not complete it. So we are
How about
more than
last year's
willing to-
budget? Could you send us last year's budget?
Absolutely, yeah. We've done a budget every single
Was
year.
it correct?
The budget is a forecast. So what do you mean by is it correct?
Did you?
Lisa's, yes, the building.
So some things were in the wrong areas.
Yeah, we can go through whatever you'd like to go through.
So who approved that budget?
Lisa.
Lisa's the only one.
That's in the contract.
The city is supposed to approve it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I've been on the city council and I don't know, is that part of the TLR committee? Dread, I don't
We've
know.
never seen the budget.
Okay. So I've been on the council for 3 years and this is my 4th year and I've never seen a budget for TLR. Even before Cornerstone managed it. So moving forward, is that something that would be brought, like meeting with the council on a regular basis?
We absolutely can do that.
Could we have a director attend our council meetings and for accountability and transparency of that TLR?
Can you, what was the question? Can
Have
you
the
have-
director attend our council meetings?
Absolutely. We actually manage multiple municipalities, or city-owned properties. So this is not our first or, our only one by any means. And so we typically are a part of it with that executive director and we go hand in hand and we're answering questions together, as in any city council.
And when we met in February, you had stated that you'd be more than willing to come to any council meeting. Again, I kind of deferred that to Lisa and to the Temperance Lake Ridge Committee at that time, to make that determination, similar to how we handle most committees here at the city. I'll speak in regards to the budget. Since taking my position end of 2024 of city clerk, I have not been emailed or provided with any information regarding a budget, but I do know and can attest to the fact that our former administrator did receive one from Cornerstone Management, whom within that company had sent that directly to our former administrator. I can't speak to. And Leslie did reach out to Lisa in regards to going over that budget.
So you as Cornerstone Management, were not given, like, there was no direction as to,
I don't feel like we've really been given direction to who we should be talking to since Leslie and the previous mayor have left.
okay. Okay. I'm new to this, so that's why I have to
Yeah,
ask
no.
many questions.
Any other questions? We'll continue on our budget or our agenda.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sewer line project, Andrea.
Yes. So at the last council meeting, we had Travis Winter who spoke on the Main Street sewer lining project. And council had recommended or directed me to reach out to Shannon Sweeney at David Drown and Associates as our bond counsel. I have attached in your packets communication that was recapping a conversation I had with Shannon Sweeney regarding this sewer lining project. I did send Shannon prior to the conversation over the phone that we had the documentation that Travis Winter had applied to city council at the January 5th meeting. And Shannon stated that his understanding is that the project engineer has indicated the total cost is approximately $580,500 and it is likely eligible for grant funding from PFA state for approximately 80% of the project cost. We have indicated that these areas have been studied in detail and is in need of lining to reduce the inflow and infiltration, also known as I&I, and to extend the life of those sewer mains. Again, this was all documented and discussed when Travis Winter was here. Shannon Sweeney had concluded it is probably the least expensive opportunity that the city will ever have to implement the project based on the following. The affordability calculation that PFA applies for grant eligibility is based on a 10-year average of future debt service payments and the median household income. Shannon states that by 2031, the city's sewer debt is presently expected to decrease by approximately $76,000 annually as we do have a bond falling off. And it is likely that a higher median household income will be applied as that is the trend by PFA in the future, meaning that the grant eligibility for sewer projects will be reduced. He also states that the project is already included in an existing facility plan. I know that Travis Winter spoke heavily on this component of this project itself, is that specifically a large portion of this funding is available to us because we have had a facility plan completed and then extended within the last 5 years. A new facility plan is not needed to apply for funding, which significantly reduces the cost of participation in the PFA funding program. Finally, he states that if the city is successful in receiving 80% in grant funding, the city's portion of $121,650, including finance costs for a microloan from Minnesota Rural Water Association, would have annual debt service of approximately $15,754. Based on his previous work projecting sewer fund performance going forward, which was done and is done on an annual basis for council consideration regarding water rates and sewer rates, it appears that barring any unbudgeted capital expenditures, which we have started to do this year, the sewer utility would be able to afford those debt service payments if the recommended 5% annual rate increases are implemented through 2029. As Shannon has recommended and has been conveyed to city council. Shannon stated again that this is the least expensive and best opportunity that the city has to implement this project. To recap that, Shannon's recommendation ultimately is move forward with this. The engineering costs that Travis Winter provided to you all at last meeting to remind you, was 43,000. That 43,000 would have to be paid upfront and would be, if granted, the grant and loan through PFA funding could be reimbursable. However, if we are not selected for the grant, that would not be reimbursable funds.
Okay, you've heard what Andrea has read. Is there a motion to approve this?
Make a motion to approve it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our sewer lane project. Hopefully, we will receive a grant from PFA. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Nuvei discounts. Andrea.
So again, at our last meeting, Sarah Kramer brought up in her council report the fact that City Hall staff, so Sean and myself, had requested at a prior meeting council to consider providing residents a discount for utilizing our payment processing system and citizen portal called Nuvei. At our last meeting, council requested that our City Hall staff break out the cost of preparing the monthly bills, the paper copy bills that Sean mostly and I assist in getting out on a monthly basis. So the total annual amount that is spent by our enterprise fund is $5,191. The breakout of that for postage alone is almost $3,800. The bill copies, the paper copies themselves annually are $572. 1/12 of printer fees as we lease our big copy printer machine is $189. And then staff annual time printing, composing the bill backs, reviewing them, ripping them, and then going to the post office is $650. So again, that total annual amount is $5,191. When we take our total services that or bills that we mail out, which is 519 on a monthly basis, times 10 is $5,100. Again, very, very close to that annual amount. So what we are as City Hall staff requesting is a one-time discount of $10 to sign up for e-billing. Now, this would not be a discount for residents who choose to sign up for the portal. It would only be a discount for residents who sign up and enroll in e-billing. If a resident would enroll in e-billing, that would mean that we no longer need to print those bills. It would be a one-time fee or a one-time discount, I should say. So in 1 year, it essentially, if 519 people, which we know we will not get, but any person counts, any dollar, any penny count. It would be a wash, but going forward, it potentially could save over $5,000 annually. It also saves an immense amount of time for staff, not only in the processing of those bills, but also when people call and ask what their bill is, which today alone we had 3 or 4. And that's just in one business day. Call and inquire about what a person's bill is.
And we received, I don't know how many calls over Friday and the weekend discussing our water main break. There's certain individuals who knew nothing about it. There's no way we can call 519 people in 2 hours. So signing up for this portal, it's free. And by signing up and enrolling in e-billing, you'll have this texted to you, emailed to you, notifying you of updates when there's main breaks or if they're going to be without water for a certain few hours or public service announcements.
I think that we could safely just, instead of doing a one-time break, if they sign up for this, they could do like $2, they could save $2 a month on their bill. Because if you look at what you're saying, you've got all these phone calls that are coming in, which that could be eliminating a lot of your time on the phone.
Currently, our time as City Hall staff is not being charged or coded to the enterprise fund itself. These totals are. So when talking about our staff time, although it would alleviate staff time, it would not alleviate any dollars within the enterprise fund's budget. But in trying to be fiscally responsible for taxpayers, it would alleviate time in being able to provide other services to get other things done in a timely manner. So saving money from the enterprise fund, no. Being mindful of our taxpayers who are also using our water and sewer service, yes.
Is there a motion to approve the $10 one time?
Would you, do you think it would be better to each just for one time, but it's gonna save us this much money each and every year? And these prices are, I mean, postage is gonna go up, paper's gonna go up, ink's gonna go up. It's gonna happen. So I'm just thinking like if they signed up for it, at least they could get a discount monthly.
So a $2, so if we're using the same model in which
Mhm.
we calculated out today, right? The postage, the annual bills, printer fees, and staff time on an annual basis was $5,191. Okay. If we take a $10 at 591 services, gets us right to that number. If we were to do a $2 discount per month using the same model of 519 services on an annual basis, that would provide a discount of, and revenue we would not capture, of 12,456.
More so people get on the system. That's what
We're wanting people to get on the system. We're wanting our ultimate goal, and Sean and I spoke on this today, is what is our goal? Our goal is to reduce the amount of time that our city staff needs to take in preparing these bills, specifically bills that often are not getting to residents' homes or mailing addresses because of issues that we have with the post office. So inevitably, even though we are still spending all of this time preparing these documents to mail out, we are still having we are still having residents call staff and inquire about what the bill is. Now, every resident who calls us, we do at that time, as well as throughout many other sources, have notified people of our payment processing or our citizen portal. However, we are wanting to incentivize residents to sign up for e-billing so that they not only sign up for that, they also have access to their bill. They can pay their bill online and they can have access to our public alert system.
But this is costing us this much a year, so that discount can be given to each resident per year instead of a one-time discount.
I'll make a motion to give the bill.
E-billing.
E-billing, $10 sign-on fee for this year. Is there a second? Is there a second? Thank for lack of a second. We'll move on. Municipal liquor store discount or discussion on the municipal liquor store end of year reports. Andrea, well, we all saw that we got the inventory list for the year. What else do you have? Just that?
So I included in your packets, and give me 1 second just to get back to it here. I included the end of year inventory as well as the end of year sales reports. It was asked by a council member to have this specifically a discussion on sale of municipal liquor store included in our old business section of our council agenda. I can tell you that the end of year report, and again, this is only sales, so revenue that was received, total was 528.18. Beer had close to 140,000. Food was close to 330,000. Liquor was 128. NA beverages, so pops, were 22,000. And then we have our off sale. So again, 180,000 for off sale beer, 125 for off sale liquor. And then off sale wine was 9,000 and wine on sale was about 14,000. So I have provided you the end of year inventory report as well as the end of year sales report.
Okay, any other discussion? No.
So does the council feel like it is still in the best interest to keep the liquor store as a municipality, or?
Well, does it make a profit for the year of 25?
So we do not have end of year financials we don't have December financials completed yet. So the financials that were included in your council packets were dated end of month November. And do it in a reasonable amount of time. For general cash balance of the liquor store for month end December was $21,891.08. Now that is not including December. So to state whether or not there was a profit in December, I cannot do. I can instead provide you with the numbers from November and then provide you with the financials once they have been compiled and completed for December, providing you that year end, had we made a profit question.
So I move that we table this discussion about the liquor store until we can get all the figures, the end of the year figures.
And move that we table this until our next meeting or until we get the figures.
Probably till we get our figures.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Search for management companies for Temperance Lake Ridge. I don't know anything about this. We thought we already hired one.
So this was discussed at our last council meeting as well as prior EDA meeting, is that per the recommendation provided in a letter that was emailed to Brad Ringnell, stated that the city of Sherburn look for 2 other management companies or receive 2 other bids. At the last EDA meeting, Sarah Kramer stated that she had contacted management companies, and at our last council meeting, you had referenced that as well. So I'll let you speak on that now.
So I did talk to 2 different management companies.
Are you on the EDA or the
EDA, with the EDA, yes.
not Temperance Lake Ridge Committee?
No, but going with our attorney Taz, his recommendation to get 2 different companies other than Embark for the council to look at the whole picture, and maybe Temperance Lake Ridge Committee has already done this, but that information was not given to the council. And per guidance or suggestion by Taz that we have this, contacted the companies so that the council can look at all possibilities. That being said, they have come and there's two companies that have come and toured the facility, have not gotten all the information they need to prepare a proposal to bring to the council. So with that being said, and in light of the things that are transpiring or have transpired at TLR, I move that we rescind the contract with Embark Management Company for TLR.
There's a lot of things that have come to light that a lot of us were not aware of, things that have gone on, letters. I would like to second that.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded to rescind our Embark contract. Any discussion? So what is the biggest problem with Embark? Who is your management company going to be? That we sent a letter to Cornerstone that they are supposed to be out on February 23rd. What's your plan to
However,
Keep a management company.
However, Cornerstone did ask to fulfill the rest of their contract. And until, we haven't talked with Cornerstone. We have not talked with any other management company. But I think we need to talk to Cornerstone and ask them to stay so we can look at all our possibilities for a management company that will best fit Temperance Lake Ridge as their residents, the employees, and the community.
Lisa has over 20 years there that she brought it out of the red. And it is doing financially well. It makes over $400,000 a year.
And I am sure that there are other executive directors that could do the same.
Any other discussion?
Well, I mean, if it's making 400,000 a year, I mean, Cornerstone would like to have the opportunity to be more engaged now that there's not all the roadblocks. I think we ought to give them a little time to see if they can make this better.
Okay, any other discussion? Ronnie?
I agree with that.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to have the council look at all the different and looking at different various companies. The two companies that have come and taken a look at it, one has really dealt with
Somebody's come and look at it already?
they have come and toured the facility, and they have, again, not
What's the company's names?
there is Ebenezer and there is PSL.
Ebenezer's been here before.
I did talk to one who has been there under a different, they were talked to, I think you did talk to them in 22, 21, something like that, but that was a Acumen. Okay.
Yep, and one of them said they were gonna come and then they didn't, then they said they couldn't come because they didn't have staffing at the time. And then we asked them again and they said, they asked who our management company was and we said Cornerstone and they said, we don't want to come and follow Cornerstone because it's gonna be a mess.
Okay, they did not state any of that. Just asking for a proposal so we can look at all the possibilities that instead of just being, we were only told about Embark. There was no other management companies that were brought to the
It was
council.
kind of an emergency situation too, because our attorney advised us we needed to move on this right now.
Our attorney also advised us to get at least two other management companies.
After this was all taken.
And,
Correct.
and I did talk to, right before you had that paper at that same meeting.
Yeah, we did a vote. And then towards the end of the meeting, or towards another part of the meeting, had it in there that we should look at two other ones. I don't understand why that was not put first.
I don't recall that, but
I do.
So there was an agenda item of Embark management contract, and then later on, based on a document that was brought to me earlier that same day of the council meeting, by Councilmember Ringnell, stated that there was a document or a letter in the form of an email from our attorney. And that date of the council meeting, or that day of the council meeting, the Embark contract went before council during our regular agenda. We then went through our full agenda items, police chief report, clerk's update, report from mayor and council members, and then we went into closed session to discuss the letter that had been sent, or email that had been sent to Councilmember Ringnell. The only input of discussion I would like to add is that today I received a message from Councilmember Ringnell questioning how much Temperance Lake Ridge had received or had made in 2025 per one of the questions that had been submitted from an agenda item request. At that time, I reached out to Anders because although I received the financial statements on a monthly basis, I also was preparing for tonight's council meeting. So upon reaching out to Anders, he stated that right around ballpark was revenue of 400,000. However, December financials, just like ours, had not been finalized. Now, those are revenues, that is not profit. Wanted that to just be clarified.
Okay, Temperance Lake Ridge, I mean, it's for profit. Who does the taxes on those?
I would have to reach out to the management company and inquire about that.
They take care of the taxes,
Are you talking about property taxes or sales tax?
revenue for TLR.
So Temperance Lake Ridge has their management company do the financials for their operating account.
Okay.
Whereas the city of Sherburn does the check reconciliations and check processing of their excess cash account. So it's kind of a two-part or twofold
Okay.
operation that has been addressed and informed council on this prior. So Anders, who works for Cornerstone, I'm not sure his exact title.
He's our senior.
Thank you. Is my point of contact with any payables or financials regarding Temperance Lake Ridge specifically. Either Anders or Ryan sends out monthly financials to various individuals, myself included, in regards to how Temperance Lake Ridge is doing financially. That is something that the EDA has asked for in the past, however, was told to me by a council member that I am not authorized to release those as they have private information due to the rent roll and HIPAA guidelines. So that is when we appointed a EDA member to that Temperance Lake Ridge committee, or recommended that be done, which was done in 2025. However, in regards to the reconciliations themselves or the financials themselves, the management company, so currently Cornerstone handles all of the operating. In past practice has been that the executive director sends me any capital expenditure over a certain dollar amount. And then from here, from me at the city, I then from my accounts payable portion of my work week, process those invoices and pay them out of that capital expense account. If we see that capital expense account is getting low and we have planned, or excuse me, if Temperance Lake Ridge or Temperance Lake Ridge Committee has planned capital expenses, we then now, since I've taken the position I have, bring forward a resolution to City Council to authorize a transfer from the operating account to the excess cash account to cover those capital expenses.
Any other discussion? I just know that if I didn't think Embark could do this job, I wouldn't have brought them forward. And we only have a year contract right now. So if things didn't work, she said she would step aside and not do that again. I don't know why we would not continue with our Embark management company.
Well, I think when it first got put forth to us, I just got put on the TLR board 2 weeks ago.
Tucker and I were on the board, and
Yep.
and we not just I.
Yeah.
We said that this would be the best fit for Temperance Lake Ridge.
But the rest of us on the council were really not given much information. I mean, it seems to be that everything with TLR has always been not really open for discussion for things. No answers.
Such as?
We asked about things, revenues. Basically, we got your answer on it, but I think there's been a lot more questions now that Lisa's not there. There's more questions. I think we need to look into this further before we really make a hard decision.
So you're gonna just take the $15,000 and just throw it away then? That we've already paid her to start her company.
Well, our city has done other things that have not been real profitable before. But I think
I'm
we
just asking.
need to make a good decision.
I think in light of the current situation, it would be in the best interest of the city, the residents and the staff to do a further educated decision-making process with the management team out there.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Motion carried. Status of the union, Andrea, or whoever.
Sure. So this has been brought up at multiple different council meetings. Just inquiring about where the city council is at in their reporting with Bureau of Mediation Services and where we're at with the union.
No, I haven't received an email since I sent them an email 3 weeks ago, maybe. Rick, he gets the other email.
Union?
Yeah.
Look for it.
I haven't seen one.
I think with the union being part of the city employees, which is also the Sherburn liquor store employees becoming union, and the fact that they have, even without this year, 4 out of the 6 years have been nonprofit for the city, that it is supposed to raise revenue to offset the tax base for the residents of the city. If that's not happening, and then you have the union in there, it's going to cost more operating. I think that's going to be another reason to consider whether we want to continue to operate in the red, having the liquor store. So I would like to table, I didn't mention that when we,
Table what?
I'm sorry,
We don't have anything from the union contract,
right, we don't have anything.
so
We don't have anything with that, knowing where we're gonna go, but talking about the possibility of not having the city-owned liquor store with looking at that being possible union.
that's what you set up here
Right,
in this other.
right.
You just saying that again.
I did just say
Right.
that again, and I was thinking about the Nuvei discount.
Okay, so we'll go to the open mayor seat.
So I have an update from the League of Minnesota Cities. Myself and Makaya spoke on the phone and followed up our conversation with an email. Once a council identifies that a vacancy has occurred, which occurred on December 15th of 2025, when our former mayor resigned from his position effective the day later, so December 16th, the council must fill the vacancy as soon as possible. Myself and the League of Minnesota Cities research team, which again was Makaya, who was a staff attorney, discussed that the statute has a pretty vague state of the as soon as possible. Minnesota statute 412.02 subdivision 2A states that for statutory city councils, which we are, the city council makes the appointment to fill a vacancy on the council. If there's a tie vote for appointment to the vacant mayor's office, the acting mayor should make the appointment. However, they cannot appoint themselves. And then references 2 other statutes which is 412.121 and 471.46. Generally speaking, the council can appoint any individual who is eligible for election to that office. Generally, to be eligible, a person must be a U.S. citizen, a resident of the city, and entitled to vote in any election, and at least 21 years old. So the same specifications that I've stated to you prior. If you can fill out an affidavit of candidacy and get your name on a ballot, you can also be appointed to the open and vacant mayor seat that we currently have. Minnesota statute 471.46 says that the city council members cannot be considered to fill vacancies in other elective offices if the council has the power to make the appointment to fill the vacancy. However, there is an important exception to this rule in that the council can appoint one of its members to the office of the mayor. When I formerly reported to you at last council meeting that a council member cannot fill the role of a mayor that came from the League of Minnesota Cities. research team. However, the individual who I spoke to, which was not Makaya, did not understand or convey to me the important exception to this rule, in that the council can appoint one of its members to the office of the mayor. We also discussed that the role of acting or mayor pro tem is to fulfill the roles and duties of mayor when the mayor is absent. However, in this situation, the mayor's seat is vacant rather than the mayor being absent, meaning the council should appoint and fill the vacancy. The mayor pro tem could be appointed to serve the remainder of the mayor term, but then the council will need to fill the open council member seat as a result. If you have further questions, there are pages in the elected officials and council structure and roles handbook that was provided to you at the beginning of this, last year, 2025, which was the new term for some of you. That is on pages 8 through 10, or feel free to reach out to me or the League of Minnesota Cities research team in regards to further clarification on the open mayor seat.
So with this vacancy, we have not posted anything that we have an open mayor seat looking for applications or anybody who is interested in this?
I would definitely recommend doing that.
I know we did that. I don't know how it's always worked. I know like when Jeff Ross passed away, they did that. There was applications.
If council would like to direct me to post on our Facebook page and other typical places where we post information for the city, so the post office, the banks, gas stations in town, I'll certainly be willing to do that.
Because otherwise Brad would have to give up his council seat to be mayor, correct?
So the council would need to appoint Brad Ringnell to be the mayor. And then the council should, as soon as possible, for what the statute states.
So if
Specifically because Brad Ringnell's term ends the end of this year, would need to appoint somebody, not hold a special election, to fulfill the remainder of the term of Councilmember Ringnell, as he is now acting as mayor.
Also when the mayor's term is up too, right?
So I thought I would resign, and then you could appoint me as mayor. And I talked to Tom Carruthers, and I thought he would be a good council member, because it's going to be easier to find a council member than a mayor. That was my thoughts, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Well, I guess I feel as our mayor resigned, I think that we should probably seek another mayor. And like you said, it might not be easy to get one, but at least we tried.
How long is the position? 2 years or 4 years?
Mayor position is 2 years.
Okay.
Council position is 4 years. However, we have 2 alternating. So 2 will be done in 2026, and then need re-election, and then 2 more in 2028.
We can keep Brad as interim mayor until election or not?
So the recommendation is not from the League of Minnesota Cities, per the document or the email I just read, is not to continue holding that vacancy. The recommendation is to fill the vacancy as soon as possible. So if our city council is under the impression that they will just have Brad continue to fill in as interim mayor, which it would be as acting mayor pro tem. Again, that is in the mayor's absence, not a mayor vacancy. So the recommendation, the statutes, and advice from League of Minnesota Cities would be to appoint a mayor. If you were to appoint Brad Ringnell as mayor, you would then need to backfill his city council position. If you were not to appoint Brad Ringnell as mayor, you would need to appoint somebody who is eligible for that mayor position. So if the city council as a whole would like me to post trying to get us a mayor, I certainly will. My only further discussion on that is I would like the city council to determine terms of that. If the city council would like there to be an application of any sort, or just come in city hall, essentially prove that you are eligible to fulfill that role, and then to set a date on when you would like those to be submitted to me by.
Well, as per this League of Cities, I think that that's what we should do is ask those if anybody is interested in filling this seat and give it a time frame, whatever you feel is adequate time. I think that the application should be in and we should have someone appointed by at least the end of February. That's my feeling.
But putting it out there and finding someone that wants to,
But they say to get this done as soon as possible. And therefore, if we don't have anybody that has applied for this position, I think, what Brad was, that could be a possibility going that way. Because like you said, it might be easier to find someone to fill that seat than that seat.
So I would ask for my direction as well as council minutes that there be a motion to include an application or just a name, as well as when you would like names to be submitted by, or a deadline.
No, I'm not even looking at a calendar. I'm gonna bring up a calendar.
end of February would be 6 weeks, so
So we,
that would be 6 weeks. That might need longer than that, maybe.
Might need longer than 6 weeks.
our first council meeting in March would be March 2nd. In order to make agendas, I would want anything turned in, if that was the goal, by the 25th of February, which would give people over a month. If you're looking then at the second meeting in March, that puts us at March 16th. Which the deadline would then need to be March 11th in order to get information in council packets.
I move that we ask for anyone interested in filling the seat of a mayor, submit their information to the city by March 11th, so we can make a decision at our second council meeting in March.
Second.
And moving second to have a mayor ad put in the paper and Facebook probably, to see if we can find a mayor by March 11th. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Police chief's report. I think she's probably gone.
So,
You have that in your packet. It's the very last page. She is.
She's hiding.
So Officer Lyon is here. However, our chief is not here tonight. It was planned that he would not be here. He did submit his Sherburn Welcome Police Department December 2025 department statistics to you all, which you should have been able to review in your council packets. He stated that if there are any questions, you can feel free to reach out to him.
Clerk's update.
One question to ask Brad.
Yep, go ahead.
If someone calls on these falls in here, I see that's the most we get calls on falls. Are they charged to go off to their resident or home if they fall down and you guys assist them?
Yep.
Okay.
There's a
fees for that.
There's a charge.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
You don't have to transfer from.
Right.
Right. Okay.
But we had one that was called us 20 times a year, and so we had to implement that charge. So, clerk's update.
Sure. So most of my time within the last 2 weeks has been spent on Temperance Lake Ridge. We have received numerous calls. We've had people in our city hall office, and I've been assisting kind of overall in answering questions and facilitating documents being submitted for council consideration, as well as trying to direct people to the proper places when they call our city hall office, because Temperance Lake Ridge employees are not employees of the city of Sherburn. Instead, they are employees of the management company, which currently is Cornerstone. However, in the last 2 weeks, I have set up a call with League of Minnesota Cities cybersecurity department. We will be obtaining a free risk assessment for that, as when I spoke with Alan last week, he stated that Midwest IT prices will be going up in 2027. He stated that currently we are not, the package that we pay for on a monthly basis is no longer offered by Midwest IT, hasn't been in some time. When I questioned why we still are on that, if it's not being offered, he said we had been grandfathered in. However, he has not given us the ultimatum of choosing a new package thus far. I did ask him when that ultimatum was going to be given. From a city standpoint, in my position, I think about budgeting. I certainly want to obtain that information far before we start our budgeting process, so that if we need to look for other IT companies, we certainly can. So before obtaining further information from any other IT company, I did reach out to to League of Minnesota Cities. When I took my Clerks Institute training year 2, I did have a cybersecurity class that was ran by a gentleman who works for the league. His name is Christian. He is going to work with me specifically, just as a point of contact in obtaining this risk assessment. What this will do is provide the city, and then the city council, information on what we need and what we don't need, what we're currently paying for, what is important. I think a really good note of this specifically is that it is a third-party individual who has no interest whatsoever in profit. If I would currently reach out to another IT company or Midwest IT themselves and inquire if this is something that they would need, they are going to likely want to do something that is going to be for profit for them. So I will be working on facilitating that cybersecurity risk assessment to see what the city of Sherburn specifically needs in the upcoming weeks. It was asked at the last council meeting when I reported in my clerk's update that Federated had completed a streetlight audit. It was asked to find out if there was a different price on different bulbs, specifically LED or sodium bulbs. When I inquired about this, I was told that there is not a difference in price for the bulbs. It is an $8 flat rate fee. I have submitted a report of outstanding indebtedness and the para exclusion reports over the last 2 weeks. And I have, our office has begun working on obtaining information for our 2025 audit, as we did just last week receive the full spreadsheet of client prepared documents. I did reach out, I had a meeting with Greg, our auditor. I want to inform council that Burkhart and Burkhart did complete a merger with Carlson SV effective January 1st. So Burkhart and Burkhart is no longer the name of our auditing firm. They merged with Carlson SV. Carlson SV works with a lot of agriculture. They have offices in New Ulm. He stayed at a couple other places, but as a former New Ulm resident, that's what I remember most about where. However, he stated that Carlson SV reached out as Burkhart and Burkhart handled a lot of small municipalities. Carlson SV did not as much. They did handle agricultural. Burkhart and Burkhart handled agricultural, but not as much. So it seemed to be a good fit for the Burkhart and Burkhart team. Now we will have the same audit team as we have had in prior years. We will still have Greg Burkhart as our main auditor. We will still have Luke and Paul and Dane. Our process will still be the same. The reporting will still be the same. Ultimately, when I met with Greg, he stated the only thing that's going to change is the company logo on top of the letterhead.
Will be Carlson SV.
Carlson SV. Yep, absolutely. Their emails also have changed. So if any council member would like updates on that, please let me know. In regards to obtaining information for the 2025 audit, I did also reach out to Anders at Cornerstone to obtain timelines for him in regards to when he thinks he'll be able to get information to our auditing team. He is anticipating finalizing end of year financials within the next 2 weeks. So the rest of this month and then beginning of February. So I have notified Luke Richards at Carlson SV that he can reach out to Cornerstone the first week in February to begin obtaining those records. That's all that I have.
Council reports. Rick,
Nothing.
Ronnie, Sarah,
The only thing I would like to say is if we could table I never say that.
Nuvei?
Thank you, Nuvei. Thank you, the Nuvei, discount and discuss it. Come up with the possibility of what we can offer our residents. I know we discussed it today,
we
that
already discussed it and nobody wanted to make a motion, so why do we need?
they
to
didn't want to
discuss it
make
again?
a motion for the $10 a year.
Yeah, so why did you make another motion to whatever you wanted to make it?
I suggested that. It was in
You
the
didn't make a
discussion. No, I did not. So I just want to table it so that we can bring it at least a discount to the residents. Whatever, if it's not, if you want to do a monthly, yearly, if you want to do it just a one-time discount.
I will draft a few different options for council consideration for our next meeting.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moving and second, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here. Adjourned at 7:27. 25. Well, moving back like that.